Welcome into the Energy Tech Podcast presented by Offsite Energy. Today we're joined by Matt Steele from Primoris Renewable Energy. We're joined live at ICC 2025.
Oh, Jeff, that's right. We are still here. We love it here at ICC 2025 in the heart of Sacramento with inductive automation, capturing the experience of some of our community members, integrators, and different manufacturers and folks that are integrating ignition. And with us right now is Matt Steele with Primoris. Matt, glad to have you on the show, man. Thank you.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're
Energy Tech.
Yeah, we're glad you joined us, and really, man, we want to just spend some time talking about your experience here at ICC. And before we do that, just Matt Steele, kind of tell us what you do there and what Primoris is all about.
Sure. I'm a senior SCADA engineer at Primoris Renewable Energy, and they're one of the largest EPC firms that builds renewable energy in the power system space. So grid scale, PV, solar, and battery storage, and a lot of the other infrastructure to make those projects happen as well.
Wow. So it sounds to me like you're an SME that's inside of that EPC, right?
Correct. Yep.
To scale up projects or call BS on, technical requirements.
Yep. So, PRE builds these projects overall. So there's a lot of construction focused people in the company, but we're there to interface between what our clients, the owners of these projects, are looking for a SCADA perspective, or if they don't have that perspective, we're there to kind of represent what they need. And then we work with a number of subcontractors usually that provide the SCADA systems for those plants. And all of them use ignition.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like you're upstream of that in the FEL process sometimes, and then you're also in front-end engineering and design with that group as well in controls and SCADA?
Correct. Well, and actually, I just started at PRE a couple months ago, and previous to that, I worked for one of those subcontractors and was the ignition lead that built out plant control system for a few dozen utility-scale solar projects.
Wow. Well, so you've got a lot of stuff on your plate. I do want to ask you a question, but before I do that, I want to, let people know, especially listeners, level up is the theme here at ICC 2025. And, level up to me has a lot of meaning to it. And for you, what do you think is different last year versus this year? And what do you see about what Ignition has done in terms of leveling up?
Well, as far as the conference itself, the big kind of manifestation of level up seems to just be this new facility that we're in and just the amount of people that can attend here. Right. And there was definitely a limiting factor. I loved the old venue and being in Folsom and everything like that, but it was, there was a limitation there that I don't think they have anymore, at least. Right. And so it's been good to just see so many more people able to participate in the conference, and the community's been a lot bigger than I think the conference has represented over the past few years, and so it's good to see that change. Yeah,
so I see the level up here is, you're right, the venue has changed. The atmosphere, it seems greater because there's room to grow, I think. The other thing is that ICC releases 8.3.
Oh, right? Absolutely, yeah.
So that's a level up. The other thing is they've got this Prove It conference flavor that has been added. And I think that also brings a piece to it, all right? I think the last thing is us, the Energy Tech Podcast. It gives the chance of the Matt Steeles of the world to really talk about ignition, how you're using it, how you deploy it, what you like, maybe what you dislike. I don't know. It's a conversation. This is all about what you're seeing. And let me ask you, how is it that you're leveraging ignition right now within the organization?
Well, it's interesting. Right now, my organization does not actually leverage ignition directly yet. I'm hoping that I can get them to do that. There's another number of opportunities that I see for that. But we have 6, 7, 8 subcontractors at any given time that are helping us build out these plants, and 100% of the plants I've seen in this industry use ignition. And so that was why I wanted to be here this year, even though I have about 5 years of experience working in ignition, and I used to work on it a lot more directly, but with 8.3 coming out this year and, major changes to the historian module and a lot of the other major changes to just how, you can do DevOps with all of the flat file configuration and just a lot of the scalability and things like that. I want to stay on front lines of that and stay fresh with that. So that's so what drove me to be here
You're right, and
year.
you've got lots of data ops capabilities that are there, built in now. Ignition's pushing that out.
Yep.
I was here. I spoke yesterday with the Ignition Oil and Gas Collective, and I did a presentation. And in that, I do talk about something you said. Now, currently, you don't have any, I'll say, foothold with Ignition and what you're doing. You've done it with other, the subcontractors. It sounds to me like the first thing you're becoming is the technology evangelist for Ignition as it becomes you have a project and an opportunity, right?
Oh, for sure. And I think there's a lot of different opportunities for how we could use Ignition down the road, and I'd just be speculating on what those are at this point.
Right.
But it's used all over the place in the operations and maintenance space, and locally at these plants in the utility scale solar and battery storage market. I think everybody who's building them is using Ignition. So, I think a lot of the opportunity comes from, and I had seen this where I was previously as well, just bridging the gap to all these other integrations where normally there's a plant level system that's built out as part of the plant, but then there's always integrations with a lot of times off takers, utility, and that's not going to necessarily be Ignition. But then you have market participant agents or participation agents. You have O&Ms. You have that are operating the plants remotely, that kind of thing. So a lot of them like to have standard facilities. You have owners and their asset managers that are looking to do this. And so all these different integration points, the fewer of those that you need to do, and the more you can kind of just scale up what you have at the plant level to be more of a portfolio level system.
Right.
I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I think what I'm hearing you say is you have a layer of stakeholders. Then what you have is you have market forces, because in renewables, typically you have a market force. That means you're delivering something downstream, whether that's energy, dispatchable power. It could be methane. It could be a product, right? Pulled from landfill gas. It could be anything. So you have a market force downstream. You have a layer of end users and stakeholders. Then upstream of that, you have an operational obligation. It sounds like at the same time. And what I'm hearing from you is
somebody will, yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds like what you're saying is that Ignition solves the problem flexibly for each one of these pieces of the puzzle, right?
Absolutely, and I think a lot of the possibilities going forward are to allow people to build those links through more automation and just making it simpler to bridge those gaps rather than everybody doing their own instance, their own gateway, their own system, and having to integrate it as kind of a one-off. I don't know where the industry is going to head with that, but I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. One of the things Ignition, as there's some native capability out of the box, I say, in modules, especially when you're talking about protocols and controls, right? That's one area. I think the other area is the easy API integrations that are capable in Ignition, and that could be anything. That could be cloud integration and ingestion, MQTT broker, and then pushing the data to a cloud platform, something similar to IoT Bridge at Snowflake, right? So you have lots of potential there. And so I think sounds to me like you've seen that before in terms of its capability and interoperability, right? Let me ask you this, Matt. So if you could wave a wand where you're at today, you don't have to speculate, you wave the wand, where do you see the potential of Ignition where you're at right now?
That's a great question. I think the potential for Ignition is bridging the link through some means, whether it's MQTT or gateway network or whatever it is, between the on-premise Ignition instance and the operations and maintenance Ignition instance, or whatever system they're using to operate a fleet of plants. That's a little difficult in this space because those are oftentimes different parties and there's different, I think if I could wave a wand, as you said, it would be something that makes it easy to have some sort of standard data model that both sides can interpret without having to remap everything, rebuild things, duplicate efforts, et cetera. That the infrastructure that supports the plant supports the local instance and the fleet-wide operational instance.
Yeah, so it sounds to me you've uncovered a challenge here. When you say O&Ms, you're saying there's some legacy connectivity that's happening with all these different O&M stakeholders, right? Is that what I'm hearing? Like
and a lot of those systems are not necessarily ignition based. There's a lot of cloud, providers out there in that space that different companies use to manage a fleet of projects for whether it's for asset monitoring purposes or asset management, or it's for a remote operations center or things like that.
I got you.
But it's an entirely additional integration process for that. And I think that's where there's a lot of opportunity to.
I think you're right. I've seen some really good potential possibility with some of the key partners with Ignition. Some of those are like Highbytes, Flow Software, if you've had a chance to visit with them. Those are all potentials with aggregating data, especially from other stakeholders or other what I call legacy. It could be a legacy protocol. It could be a specialized cloud software, that you want to integrate an API with and make sure that you're secure when you're sending data downstream or when you're integrating the two. I think there's lots of potential there.
Sure.
And when you think of that, aside from you don't have the wand yet, do you think that one of the challenges is related to the culture of the organizations you're working with? And when I say culture, here's what I mean. I mean that you have not just competing interests, such as business group and an operations group. I mean, like culturally, hey, well, I don't know if we can accept that just yet. We like whatever's not broke, we don't need to fix it.
I would push back on that a little bit, and I don't think it's a cultural issue because a lot of times it's not within the same organization where those decisions are being made. A lot of times, who's building the plant is a completely different party from who's going to operate the plant.
Yeah.
Or these other, who's another, who else is working for the owner that's doing asset management or that kind of thing. And so it's getting all these different people that are all out there trying to represent the interest of our owner and get them what they need, the owner of the facility, and allow them to meet their obligations, allowing us to all work together a little bit better for that purpose.
Yeah. So, all right. So it's not culture. You're saying I've got interests that are involved with each group. So and some of them can be competing. Sometimes they're not. But at the end of the day, right? That's what you're saying is, hey, there's some interests that happen with each one of these groups. And I'm going to return to the wand because I still think one thing about Ignition is a lot of people relegate it to the control piece, but it can act as a great middleware, what I call a middleware. It's a nice flexible IoT product, right?
Absolutely.
And I think you've seen that, right? And kind of describe in your mind, Mike, if you could pick the top, let's say 3 things that you believe in terms of its flexibility and IoT interoperability that you favor with Ignition, what would that be in your mind?
Well, the first thing, I'm not sure if it's like an integration, but the thing when I was previously at a SCADA vendor that was building these plant control systems, the thing that I would try to evangelize is a model where we can have consistent Ignition projects pushed out to all the sites that we work on, and we don't have to customize things. And so what that's challenging, the biggest challenge that it seems all companies are having in this renewable energy space is just scaling up to meet the demand. There's just so much work out there, and it's tough to find enough people with the right skills to do it. And so my approach to solve that was always like, hey, let's make these things self-deploying. And we pretty much got there at the place I was. And a lot of that was making everything in Ignition for a particular site configurable and driven at the tag provider level so that the tags, it's a data model for the plant.
Yes.
And then we have this stack of Ignition projects that just conforms itself and auto-deploys and HMI and everything else to that.
So a UDT, a nice standard, some UDT structure is what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, but then the UDTs, I mean, the whole structure would we'd use custom properties to relate assets to each other, and then in a caching process, and then a self-deploying HMI. So it was really like we could just upgrade on the fly sites to have new functionality and things like that. And I've seen some other vendors in the space do some other interesting things like that as well. And I think it's people, Ignition was kind of a legacy. It came out of a background as a SCADA product, but now you can see it here with the technical keynote this morning and, what they talked about with 8.3 when it was announced last year and everything that's happened in between. It's bringing these IT deployment practices, scalability practices, et cetera, into the space that allow for continuous integration and deployment. It allows for source control and just better traceability of what's being developed and what all the code changes that are happening, and just allowing teams to work better and faster. And I think that there's just it's interesting now that we have these tools that have come out with 8.3 as of yesterday.
Yeah.
How are people actually going to use those capabilities? And there's so much creativity that I've seen with all the different vendors working in this space, building out solutions in Ignition. And I think a lot of where I hope to see this go is people creating these kind of standard product models on top of Ignition, where Ignition's the foundation for it. But then you have these, whether industry specific or whatever, layers of products on top of it that break the model of, hey, I have to go customize my Ignition project for this plant or whatever my use case is. It's like, no, we can standardize that and use other means to deploy that. And I think there's going to be a lot of power in terms of scalability there, in various industries. Data centers are going to be another one that could use that model as well.
No, I think you're right. And so let me ask you a couple of questions here, because we're winding down on some time. But when it comes to what you're seeing here at ICC, what are some of the takeaways you're looking for right now? To make this thing, hey, I've leveled up. I like what I've seen so far. What are you hoping to get out of your experience remaining here at ICC 2025?
Well, first of all, the thing I'm always looking forward to get out of my experience at ICC is meeting the other people in the community that are using it, that are building amazing things. That's what I love about the conference so much. I mean, seeing the Prove It gallery or the Prove It demonstrations, seeing some of the table talks. I hosted a table talk for my industry yesterday, and it was just a great way to listen in and hear how other people are solving even some of the most mundane problems in terms of scalability, but other people just thinking about this toolkit, this foundation that we all share in common. How are they using those tools and assembling something? And there's just so much creativity around that. And so it's just meeting the people, even learning different industries and how they're approaching problems. There's a lot to be gained out of that. But then the other big thing I think is 8.3 and a lot of changes to the historian module. I'm really excited about changes to flat file configuration. I'm really excited about, and I think they have a lot of stuff even from what I've heard queued up for the additional the 8.3.1 etc.
on the releases.
I'm excited to see. They even mentioned this morning how they're going to be able to accelerate feature development as a result of the foundation that they've built, getting rid of the technical debt in their code base, and I'm really excited to see what this sets the foundation for in the future.
All right, I got one last one, and then we got to go. But man, I would keep you here for a long time. You're actually very good. It's great conversation.
Well, it's great to be here. I'm enjoying it too.
And I want to ask you this because it's unavoidable. But right now, AI and machine learning is at a real high hype cycle.
Hype cycle, indeed.
It's a hype cycle. But that happens with a lot of things.
It does.
iPhone, I mean, everyone's had their hype cycle.
Yep.
My question to you is, how do you feel about it? And then part two, where do you see yourself in deploying AI and machine learning, right?
Sure.
For you personally, whether you have a wand or not.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of areas where I have skepticism about AI and just how it has been hyped, but I think there's a lot of areas where it's going to prove itself over time and where it's just another tool that people are figuring out how to creatively use. For me personally, I think at least in regulated industries and these types of systems that are designed for, let's set this and get it in there for, a decade or more to come, it's premature to try and work those tools into those types of systems.
Right.
But where I think it's really proving itself already, even in the past whatever year or two that we've had these tools at our disposal, is just shortcutting the deployment or the development cycle. Just a lot of the mundane things that would take up developers' times, or just, hey, how can I take this points list and convert it into, tags, or how can I update something? All those types of, things that used to take hours and we can just crank out if we can do that. That's the real.
So it's augmenting
that's the
your role.
Tangible benefit at this current point, I think.
So you feel the tangible role right now for AI is to optimize a workload if you can. right? To cut out some time.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm hearing this.
Yep.
Last sub piece to this is, do you see any value kind of about, maybe deploying an early version of MCP and a model context protocol?
Well, this morning was the first I've heard of it. I think I have a lot to learn. I think it's exciting to hear that the industry is already developing some standards that will allow for compatibility in the future. But that's something I have to explore, but it's exciting to know Ignition's going to be releasing a module for that coming up.
Awesome.
And I'm going to play around with it once it's out.
There you go. That's what we're looking for.
Yep.
And Matt, I appreciate you coming on the show. We really enjoyed having you. I wish I could keep you, man, because I think we can keep going.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it. We're glad you're here at ICC 2025 and you find some really great experience. And with that, I am your co-host at the Energy Tech Podcast here in the heart of Sacramento with ICC 2025. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Mike Flores. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.